seat on the state Supreme Court despite a massive campaign effort for the Republican candidate from Elon Musk.
Well, much to cover this morning. Let's get started at the White House. NBC's Peter Alexander on duty. Peter, good morning.
Savannah, Craig, good morning to each of you. Even now, just hours before the president's Rose Garden announcement here this afternoon, what exactly those new tariffs will look like remains a mystery. The White House says the president and his economic team are, in their words, perfecting the policy. But with today's planned unveiling comes plenty of uncertainty. The S&P 500 just tallying its worst quarter in 3 years as Americans brace for what it'll do to the prices you pay.
We want to do what's right for the...
This morning, President Trump going all in on his huge economic gamble, preparing to slap reciprocal tariffs on foreign adversaries and allies alike.
They've been ripping us off for years, right from the beginning, and I think this is going to be an amazing...
When pressed whether it could be the wrong strategy, the White House is expressing confidence.
They're not going to be wrong. It is going to work.
The president has already implemented a series of new tariffs, or import taxes. 20% on Chinese imports, 25% on aluminum and steel, and 25% on certain goods from Mexico and Canada. Beginning tomorrow, he'll impose 25% tariffs on imported vehicles and next month on imported auto parts. For a president who promised to bring prices down on day one, the tariffs are already raising them on everything from wedding dresses.
When the prices go up it goes up for everyone.
To car repairs.
We're seeing fewer customers, and those customers that we're seeing, they're having higher bills.
Still, many auto workers say the cost is worth it.
Trump is putting these tariffs in place to be able to keep the American people working.
It comes as the president is ramping up his cuts to the federal workforce, about 10,000 jobs slashed across the Department of Health and Human Services, which includes the CDC, FDA, the National Institutes of Health, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Critics warn the cuts could be a blow to public health, medicine, and research in the U.S. Among those protesting President Trump's sweeping actions, Democrat Cory Booker.
More Americans need to stand up and say enough is enough.
Setting the record for the longest speech in Senate history, more than 24 hours, railing against President Trump as a grave and urgent threat to the country.
This president is wrong. And he's violating principles that we hold dear.
Booker's historic speech broke the previous record held by segregationist Strom Thurmond, who was trying to block the passage of a civil rights bill nearly 70 years ago, which Booker said overnight was part of his motivation to keep going. Savannah.
All right, Peter, thank you very much.
All right, let's focus a little bit more on what we know about these soon-to-be-announced tariffs, what we don't know, but what they also could mean for consumer prices and your bottom line. And for that, we bring in NBC's senior business correspondent, Christine Romans. Christine, so we'll hear from President Trump later this afternoon. We'll get some clarity on what this could mean, but break it down for us. Walk us through what we could be looking at.
Well, will they put just a universal tariff on everybody of, say, 20%, or will they look at those big 15 trade imbalances, the countries with the biggest trade imbalances, and go after those? Or will they look at specific sectors? We just don't know, but this is the big one. There are already some tariffs that are in play, but this is the very, very big one. The president says this is about fairness, but I can tell you companies, foreign capitals, and consumers are bracing for impact because this will really matter.
Well, the White House calls these reciprocal tariffs. Can you just lay out what that point of view is?
There are 200 trading partners and 12,500 different tariff lines, so there's potentially 2 million different tariffs we're talking about here. He wants to look at every single tariff that's on anywhere in the world that he thinks is unfair or larger against U.S. products than the reciprocal, and he wants to just rectify that. It would be incredibly disruptive. There are lots and lots of tariffs out there.
The cars we've been talking about a lot, the potential tariffs on cars. Help us understand this idea that there's a car that exists that's 100% American made. There's not, is there?
No, there isn't.
So every car goes up in price.
We have in a regional car system. Asia has its regional supply system. North America does. Europe does. In North America, these parts cross borders multiple times. You talk about a transmission. Oh my goodness, hundreds, thousands of parts that cross borders multiple times. And so a car that is made in the United States might have 20%, 30%, even 40% 40% foreign parts. There are 30,000 parts in a car. So an American-made car, could be a foreign automaker or a U.S. automaker, has lots of parts that come from a lot of different places. So you're going to see higher prices. The companies have been telling us brace for higher prices. Already we're seeing it in the dealers. The dealers have these notices from the automakers saying, look, we can guarantee this pricing for you when the car that comes to the showroom floor, maybe for another couple of weeks.
I mean, the Trump administration says they're not going to pass on the taxes that they're paying, these extra to consumers. But economists say, yes, they will.
Yeah, and the companies, privately and publicly have said these are big costs that are going into the supply chain. They have to be passed along some way. We're talking about cars. We're also talking about furniture. We're talking about every single thing that crosses a border, and that is lots and lots of things.
Thank you, Christine.
All right, we'll see what the day holds. Thank you so much. Also this morning, Republicans and Democrats are claiming victory after several closely watched elections in Florida and Wisconsin, seen nationally as a referendum on the president and his advisor, Elon Musk, in the case of Wisconsin. NBC's Ryan Nobles joins us with that story. Ryan, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. And Democrats held on to a slim majority in Wisconsin's state Supreme Court. It is certainly a setback for Trump ally Elon Musk, who campaigned and spent millions of dollars there. While in Florida, the GOP maintained control of 2 critical open House seats, giving Speaker Mike Johnson a little extra breathing room with the Republicans' razor-thin majority. Overnight, voters in Wisconsin and Florida sending 2 different messages to the nation's capital.
All right, Wisconsin, we did it.
Susan Crawford winning the Wisconsin Supreme Court race against Brad Schimmel, the GOP-backed candidate supported by President Trump and his top ally, Elon Musk. Crawford's victory preserving a liberal majority on the battleground state's high court. And is a blow for Musk, who invested millions in the race and traveled to Wisconsin attempting to energize voters. The billionaire even giving away million-dollar checks to people who signed his petition opposing what he calls activist judges.
As a little girl growing up in Chippewa Falls, I never could have imagined that I'd be taking on the richest man in the world.
But GOP candidates coming out on top across the country in Florida. In special elections for 2 congressional seats vacated by Republicans Matt Gaetz and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. Republicans Randy Fine and Jimmy Patronis both won victories in ruby red districts. The margins of victories less than half of what President Trump won back in November, though turnout for special elections is traditionally lower.
Thank you to President Trump.
Securing those seats was critical for Republicans, given their slim majority in the House. Overnight, Trump celebrating Fine's victory on social media, while Fine giving him credit. Because of you, Mr. President, I won't let you down. Democrats and Republicans vowing to continue fighting in the traditionally conservative regions.
It's not the end, it's a beginning for future races here.
This election is a reminder that Florida Panhandle will forever be red and it'll be forever Trump country.
Now, Democrats winning in Wisconsin and Republicans winning in Florida may not seem too shocking, but it's the nuance of these election results that could shape the political strategies for future candidates on both sides of the aisle going forward. Savannah?
All right, Ryan, thank you very much.
Another major story we're following this morning, the weather. Tens of millions all over the country, once again in the path of some really dangerous storms, including a significant risk of tornadoes. Dylan is in for Al this morning. Dylan, good morning to you.